and welcome to Goa That Was. I am Nisa Dias here to remind you of the people and events that made news in the week that went by. Last week, Goacom showed that henceforth elected representatives will have to take notice of their wishes and will not tolerate being taken for granted. Be it in Karmana, Benaulim or Shridaun, villagers protested and imposed their will. Last week, pall of gloom descended over the village of Karmana. During the Gram Sabha meeting called to discuss a mega housing project, the villagers exchanged blows, thus creating a vertical divide among the villagers, and thus played into the hands of Mumbai-based developers Rahejas. As the opposition to the project started gaining momentum, the developers had to adopt methods to suppress the movement. And what is better way other than divide and rule? And in this instance too, the scheme was to divide the villages and get on with the project. And some gullible villagers fell for the gimmick. Amendments were made in the Constitution of India to empower the Gram Sabha. But if the villagers resort to violence to settle differences of opinion, the very purpose of the amendment stands defeated. The villagers seems to have genuine fears about the impact of allowing such a mega housing project with 71 villas, each having 4 floors with a plunge pool on each floor, apartment block on an area of 12,500 square meters with number of general swimming pools, a clubhouse and 22 private bungalows. It is almost like a township and will put extra burden on the existing infrastructure like water and power supply and disposal of garbage. Be that as it may, local MLA Churchill Alemau's silence over the issue was deafening. That the PWD minister was involved with the developers stood exposed at the meeting. As per the version of the police, they were directed by the Varka strongmen to get back to the outpost. And it was only after the police had left did some relatives of Churchill Alemau started abusing and assaulting villagers objecting to the project. But then it is not surprising that the local MLA is not with the people who are objecting to the project, as projects of this magnitude come with huge addendums for politicians. So also it is not the first time that Churchill's silence has surprised anyone, as last year when a section of villagers from Kavalosim were objecting to dredging of River Sal to facilitate anchoring of an offshore casino of Leela's, another group was formed to support Leela's, allegedly with Churchill's blessing. But by now, constituents have realized Churchill's modus operandi, and in both instances, Kavalosim as well as Karmana, villages opposing certain projects to preserve nature has emerged successful. The dredging of River Sal was stopped and the vessel removed from the river, and the Gram Sabha of Karmana has successfully resolved not to allow the mega housing project in their village. In another positive development that will go a long way in preserving the villages and land of Goa, villagers of Benaulim came under the banner of Benaulim Villagers Action Committee to advise the local self-governing body not to allow any more housing projects in the village. Though belatedly, the villagers of Benaulim woke up to this truth that their village has over the 5 years have almost turned into a concrete jungle. And what made them wake up from their slumber was the malarial mosquito bite. If not for the outbreak of malaria in Benaulim, the villagers would not have realized the stark reality that in few years' time they would be reduced to a minority in their own village. The movement has to gain momentum, otherwise if the current trend of unabated construction continues, it will spell doom for Goa. And beginning of the month, the rumblings in the Congress started again, with Pale MLA Gurudas Gavas resigning as the chairman of Goa Handicraft Development Corporation. Initially people thought it was an April Fool joke, but it was not. Pale MLA's contention was that the government had totally neglected his constituency and constituents. He cried that the chief minister did not keep his promise of making him a parliamentary secretary. With the post come a lot of goodies, and one of them is a red light topped official car, a much sought after commodity. But then Congress party follow a strange system. If one does not revolt against the party, you are not taken notice of, and it is only after baring your teeth you are appreciated. But then in Gurudas's case, it is likely to be a different issue, as there are not many in the Congress who would support his cause, and it is learnt that he has fallen out with his mentor Vishwajit Rane, as the junior Rane is rumoured to be grooming former MJP candidate Mahesh Gavas. This was followed by a spat between PWD Minister Churchill Alemao and Tourism Minister Mickey Pacheco, both spewing venom against each other, and Churchill demanding from Chief Minister Digambar Kamath to drop Mickey or he would resign, and vice versa. And when the Chief Minister received a call from the Varka strongman threatening to resign if Tourism Minister is not dropped, Digambar Kamath rushed to the residence of Churchill Alemao. If our Chief Minister is at the beck and call of the ministers, how will the honourable ministers respect him? And coming to the blocking of the official car of PWD Minister, it is learned that it was orchestrated by Churchill himself, as his driver Anthony was warned by the protesters not to take that route as it was blocked, but he deliberately proceeded from the residence of Varka strongman. And as we are on the subject of Churchill's driver, Anthony is a power unto himself. He drives rashly and negligently, and most of the time is abusive. Last week saw the noose tightening around the neck of Advocate General Subodh Kantak. It is not only the BJP that has questioned repeated payments made to him for the same case. They also allege that in some instances the AG has claimed and accepted money for disposed cases also. Social activist Iris Rodrigues, to substantiate his allegation, produced an order of Goa bench of Bombay High Court, wherein Justice Lodha passed strictures against the Advocate General Subodh Kantak for delaying writ petitions. The BJP too has got AG in their crosshairs and has given the government a fortnight to provide them with proper figures of payments made to AG. Otherwise have threatened to move breach of privilege. All said and done, the Congress-led governments and Advocate General has brought a bad name to the Constitutional Office. Last week, the police decided to hand over investigation into the rape and murder of 15-year-old British tourist Scarlett Eden killing to the Central Bureau of Investigation. Inspector General of Police Kishan Kumar informed that he has recommended to the government that the case be handed over to the CBI. While we are on the issue of Scarlett, PSI Nelvan Albuquerque, who has been suspended in the case, denied that his last suspension in 2004 lasted for 2 years and informed us that he was back in service within a few months. And last week, Bharatiya Janata Party hit the nail on the head when it appealed to the Union Government, Governor of Goa, to bring about a change in the government as the state administration had become non-functional. Since the time this government has been formed, the Chief Minister is running around in circles to keep his house of cards from collapsing. He has survived 2 coups, and almost on daily basis he is on one fighting mission or the other, trying to keep his cabinet colleagues from washing dirty linen in public.